Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 11 waiver wire pickups, trying to get some players that maybe can help you down the stretch here in these final 4 weeks of the fantasy regular season already. Jeff, I feel like we just started this thing. I thought we were just talking rankings for the full season, and now we're here. Week 11, we got 11, 12, 13, and 14 left. That's it. And then we're in the playoffs. Crazy that we got here this quickly. But here we go. Time to talk about some players. So, you know what? The top waiver wire ad. It has to be, in my mind, Ramandra Stevenson, despite the fact that you do not know how it's going to play out with the Patriots backfield. It's not great for a waiver wire ad. I mean, he's that player though. In like other times, he's a league winner type player. If Damien Harris had a season ending injury, right? This is the kind of player that you pick up late and wins you titles. Problem is Damien Harris has a concussion. He should be back next week. And that changes things. I still don't know if there's a better pickup though this week than Ramandra Stevenson. I think this isn't somebody you go spend everything on. Like you're going to put all your money on a guy you need this week, right? This is the play that you go get. Okay, maybe this guy becomes the guy in a couple of weeks and he can win me a title once I get to the playoffs. It's hard to say that this is the guy you need. If you need a player next week, you go pick up Stevenson, even though I want to say that. What are your thoughts right now on Ramondre Stevenson? Because this is like, it's a weird waiver week when like I feel like the top guy isn't guaranteed work next week. We just don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think Stevenson is probably number one just because of his upside and what he would be capable of doing if Harris was held out for another week, or if he just started losing carries to him. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen, but we've seen this kind of thing play out in New England before. I think it more just speaks to the part of the season we're in at the moment. It's just a little bit bare bones. So you have to take a few more risks. Stevenson would probably be my number one. And honestly, at this point, I mean, it turns into like, who's number two? Like that's how crazy we have to go. Like Jordan Howard might be number two.
Well, it becomes a mix to me there's three other players to me. It's Jordan Howard, it's Boston Scott, and it's D'Onta Foreman, to be honest.
Yeah. D'Onta Foreman. I have a hard time believing in him, but
I don't believe in it like really at all. But okay, this is the dilemma you could have where, you could pick up, I would try, if you need a running back for next week, I'd probably try to pick up both Stevenson and then another guy. If you have that room, I'd pick up Stevenson and then go pick up D'Onta Foreman. And honestly, if Harris comes back and we don't know it's going to play out, D'Onta Foreman could be like the safer play, but he has Peterson there. And then Howard and Scott have each other. Like there isn't a sure thing, right? There just isn't a sure thing at all. D'Onta Foreman probably gets you 50 to 60 yards. That's about as sure as you can get. Howard and Scott have played well, but you could see a situation where they fall off easy. And Sanders is always there. He's coming back at some point. This is rough if you really need a player. So for me personally, it's go and get Ramondre Stevenson, and that's the potential there. Foreman, Howard, and Scott do not have that league winning type potential in my mind. Ramondre Stevenson's does, even though we don't know how it's going to work out yet. But we've also seen huge games from Patriots running backs that you never heard from again, like Jonas Gray, however many years ago that was, right? It's happened. It wouldn't be the craziest thing, except he looked good in preseason. We could see the talent was there, and he was a rookie early on, right? And he wasn't playing because of other things like missed blocks and stuff like that, where it seems like he's, got a little better at that kind of stuff, and they trust him more now, and now he's getting his opportunity. But is he better than Damien Harris? Probably not. But I don't think Damien Harris is that much better than him. I just don't think they're similar, right?
Right. I think exactly. They are similar. And if I had to guess, like Harris would still be the guy I would rather have, obviously. And the best case for scenario for the next couple of weeks for Stevenson, if Harris comes back, is just that he finally gets playing time again and he'd be able to establish himself. We've seen it before where, especially in an offense where you have Mac Jones, you're not throwing deep. their wide receivers aren't scary. They're going to use a lot of different running backs. So if he's the one that hits and he turns into the goal line back, which I have to believe would still be Harris, but you never know. Stevenson is an aggressive runner, whatever you want to call it. I think he would do well in the red zone. Then maybe he could carve out a spot for himself, but you have to pick him up because you have to find out. And this would be the time where he does have a few games to, what if he just they ride the hot hand and that guy's on fire. I mean, he had a great game, but you got to take the shot.
Yep. Some other names I guess I'll throw out there, not for pickups this week, but this is still the time where you start looking at handcuffs, right? So Alexander Madison's owning 40.8% of leagues, so just above our usual 40% threshold. But again, if you have Dalvin Cook, especially with the news that came down this past week about Dalvin Cook, you better have Alexander Madison on your team. There is no, again, I look at this number and I say there's 60% of leagues. There are 60% of leagues out there that Alexander Madison is on a free agent. He's on a waiver wire. If you're a Dalvin Cook owner, those 60% of leagues, go pick him up right now. If you're not, go pick him up if you have the bench spot. Other ones, we're recording this before the Monday night game, so I don't know how Jeff Wilson's going to play, if he's going to play at all, but I do feel like he is probably the guy to have handcuff Elijah Mitchell. It feels like Jeff Wilson would get the opportunity if, let's say, Mitchell went down. Mitchell's been hurt like majority of the season, to be honest. He's playing well, but he goes into every weekend with a questionable tag. And he's missing practices. He's not full contact in practices. It's been happening every single week. And Jeff Wilson is just coming back now healthy. So I think if you are if you own Elijah Mitchell, you should have Jeff Wilson. Obviously, maybe that's completely off. If you're listening to this after Monday night, who knows what happened, but that's another one you should probably have. The other handcuff I would throw out there is Sony Michel. He's owned in 26.9% of leagues. I feel like if there was ever a scenario where Darrell Henderson went down, Sony Michel's probably a pretty good ad. There'll be some good volume there. Not saying he's going to be amazing, but that he'd probably be a solid player, right? So, and then I guess this is this shouldn't be out there, but if AJ Dillon happened to be available in a league, obviously he supersedes everything. He's number one, but he's most likely not in majority. He's owned in 59% of leagues. So there is 40% of leagues where AJ Dillon is out there, which is, obviously if AJ Dillon's out there in your league, he's the number one ad, no question about it. So you go get him. Wide receiver wise here, Jeff, I guess we just throw out the usual suspects, right? Rashod Bateman, Elijah Moore, throw those names out there again. There isn't really too much to me of there's no sure things out there. So I'm going to throw out those prospects. Bateman keeps looking better. He was 6 for 80 this past week. I like what I'm seeing from Rashod Bateman. So I really think he needs to be added. And Elijah Moore too. It's a late garbage time touchdown, but hey, he's still got another one. He's owned at 36% of leagues. So I don't know if you have any other names you like there, wide receiver.
I mean, I'd be reaching. I mean, I really would. I guess a few guys down below, or one guy in particular, I guess, that I'm just kind of intrigued to see where he goes. But the Saints offense is kind of in flux at the moment, and I am kind of interested in Deontay Harris. He's just starting to get the targets that you want to see, and he's had some success with it. And with Jameis going down, I think that he's kind of the speedster they could kind of go to other than having the number one in Callaway. So he's one of them I'm going to be keeping my eye on because I think the last 3 games he's looked pretty good. But other than that, you're taking a shot at not a whole lot going on.
So other than Harris, so you got the other pass catchers from the Saints. If you want to take a shot on one of them, Callaway and Traquan Smith are both out there. I guess the real one you want to take, if you're just going for a home run hitter, possibly Jamal Agnew. That's a real hey, you know what? I'm going to take a shot in the dark here. I need a big play. Maybe I get lucky. Maybe Jamal Agnew does something nuts. Yeah. That's real risky, but
it is. He doesn't get many opportunities.
No,
he's made the most out of the last few games. So he's intriguing, but I don't think that's his target share is going to go up at all.
No, that's the real risky play that you're just I really need something here. But yeah, there's just not a lot there, right? Just not much you're looking for at wide receiver right now.
I don't trust it at all either.
No, there isn't.
If you're really Brian Edwards is still interesting to me with Ruggs being in the situation he is, he doesn't get a lot of balls thrown his way, but he is kind of like the normal type of wide receiver you would want. He did catch a touchdown against KC, made it look better. He's had 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games they played. But then again, he went completely shut out against the Giants. So he's one that I don't think he's pulling it together this year, but he'd be one that's at least in a position that he could get you some points.
Yep. It's about it at wide receiver for me. At tight end, again, this position kind of sucks. But I guess if you're chasing touchdowns, you can go get Tyler Conklin, but it was just touchdowns. But I guess that's all that matters is tight end, right? And just touchdowns are all that matters. You got 2 of them there, but he only now has 3 on the season. He did have those 7 targets in each of the last 2 games before this one. This one was only 5 targets, but 2 touchdowns, 7 targets against Baltimore, 7 targets against Dallas. So Tyler Conklin, if you don't really have any other plays, that's not the worst. Dan Arnold, to me, is slightly interesting. He caught 5 balls for 67 yards against the Colts, but it's more of the targets that I'm liking here. These last 3 games, 10 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets. Those games have been 8 for 68, 4 for 60, 5 for 67. You pair that with a touchdown one of these weeks, and that's a pretty good play. That's what you like to see from a tight end, is if you get 60 yards and you have that potential for a touchdown, that's sometimes all you need, or all you're hoping for. So that's to me an interesting play. I would say that's definitely something to look for. Dan Arnold, if you really, need something. I don't know if there's any other tight ends you see out there under 40% for
you. No,
just isn't.
No, not a whole lot.
I mean, Hunter Henry's only owned in 54% of leagues yet. Still,
yeah. 40. I mean, I was gonna say that 40% is a real hard cutoff for us, but below that, Cole Kmet is, I feel like, kind of coming on, but it's the same thing where I'm looking more at targets rather than what he's been able to do. He hasn't caught a touchdown yet, which you desperately need as the tight end position. But the last, 4 games, 5 targets, 6, 6, 8. He's going in the right direction. They're coming off a bye. You'll go Baltimore, then Detroit, then Arizona. If you're in a real pinch, I would be kind of interested in him. And then the upside of, Uzama for Cincinnati. He's had big games, but in tight end, you can roll the die with someone like that because it's not going to matter. He went on bye, so a bunch of people dropped him. So he's going to be only owned in about 20% of leagues. So you can get him, which is probably where I would go. I think I think because of those big games, he's ranked as a top 5 tight end overall in standard. Just shows you how bad tight end is. But so he would be the other one that I would mention.
All right, let's look at some streaming quarterbacks. Let's see if we can find one for somebody this week. Last week it would have been Carson Wentz, and it did not play out for you. So sorry about that. Carson Wentz seemed like an easy play, but it just didn't work out. All right, so if I go around the 50% mark at quarterback here, that puts you at Matt Ryan. He plays the Patriots. Don't want to do that, especially after what Matt Ryan just did, what the Falcons just did. With the Cowboys, they look terrible. Patriots have been coming on pretty good. So you don't want to go with that one. Baker against the Lions should be the play. That should be a good play. But Baker is so banged up right now that I don't know if it is. But again, that seems like a solid play to me. It really does, despite the injuries, despite how the team's been playing. Baker Mayfield against the Lions should be a good streaming play. Maybe not the best, though. Tua against the Jets, again, should be, if Tua plays, which he should, because he came in last week, so he should be fine now. That should be a solid option too, right? Baker against the Lions, Tua against the Jets, solid options. But how do you feel about Mac Jones going against the Falcons?
Once again, if you he would probably be under those other guys, because I could see this turning into just let's rush the ball as many times as we can.
Could, yeah.
Because every time I'm like, oh, this is a good matchup, maybe they'll try to go out of their way. It has not turned into that. In fact, against the Jets, he did very well, 307 and 2 touchdowns. I didn't expect him to throw 3 touchdowns against Cleveland. So this offense is kind of all over the place. And he hasn't done enough for me to really put my faith in him. Mm-hmm. But Atlanta's really struggled. So if you're in a pinch, he would be lower on my list.
Okay. But so Baker, Tua, Mac Jones is after that. That's pretty much it, though. You're not going Daniel Jones against the Bucs, Trevor Lawrence against Niners. No. Justin Fields, I'll say Justin Fields here. He's playing against Baltimore. That could be a play. But either way, even if you are streaming at all, go pick up Justin Fields now for week 12 against Detroit.
Yeah.
Get it now for that. And if you want to play against Baltimore, it's not the worst thing in the world. Baltimore doesn't shut people down right now. They're not scary at all.
No, and he's done a lot better in his last two games. He was abysmal before that.
Yeah.
But he's found a way, and his rushing is really coming along, which is great. That will probably save you.
Yeah, but definitely go pick him up, even if you don't want to play him this week for week 12 against the Lions. That should be a great matchup. Cam Newton's interesting because we don't know his status for the week 11, if he's going to get the start or not. Plays against Washington. If he does, you're probably not going to start him right away, right? If you get Cam Newton, you're going to see what you have in him. Against Miami, it could be interesting.
I don't know. I mean, he would probably, out of the guys we talked about, I would probably put him I might put him third.
Really? Against ahead of Mac Jones, you think? Or
I think I'd put him ahead of Mac Jones, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm that one's a little dangerous, but at the same time, I know that he can, you get him at the 1 yard line. He can get that QB sneak. You know that he's going to dump a bunch off to make, pretty much anyone. And he had that connection with Robbie Anderson. It kind of all points me in the direction that he can get an easy touchdown, and then anything else is kind of gravy on top. None of these guys really stand out to me at the moment, to the point where I think Justin Fields is in that top 3 as well, which I never thought I would say.
Yep,
it's just a rough week for QBs as well. So those would be my top 3, I guess.
All right, let's move over to defenses. Find some streaming defenses here for people. I'll actually go about 57% because that's where I'll start us off with the Browns. So if the Browns are out there, they're playing against Detroit, go get them. Go get them, play them, feel great about it, and wait for Jared Goff to throw you a couple picks if they even let him throw the ball. But get the Browns. I don't care that they gave up 45 points to the Patriots. The Lions are how you get right in the NFL. You'll feel much better. So go get the Browns. Niners against Jacksonville. I like that one too. Jacksonville is, they don't win games. If they do win games, they've won twice, but they don't win by their offense. So go get the 49ers. I like that one. Panthers against Washington. That's interesting too. Look, they just did to the Cardinals. It was an injured Cardinals team, but still, Washington's an up and down type team. Taylor Heineke could go out and throw a couple picks, or he could go and throw a few touchdowns. You never know, but Panthers are interesting as well. And then Titans playing against Houston.
They'd probably be my number 1 pick.
So Titans against Houston, Browns against Lions, 49ers against Jacksonville, then maybe Panthers against Washington. There's like 4, and then Dolphins against Jets. Dolphins have played really good there for a couple weeks. They've had 2 great games. I actually had a league last week. I had a league where I played the Dolphins 2 weeks ago. Who were they playing 2 weeks ago? I don't remember now. They were playing Texans, maybe, whatever they were playing. And let's see here. They're playing the Texans 2 weeks ago, week 9. So I had them in my lineup. I forgot to change them out on Thursday night. I forgot to change them out against Baltimore. Of course I would change them out against Baltimore, right? You're not going to roll with the Dolphins. Oh, I did, and it worked. It was a big day for me. I got so lucky. You screw up and you you look like a genius. Oh, I knew all along. Of course I was playing the Dolphins defense, but they're playing pretty well actually. So honestly, if you're streaming defenses, this is the best week we've had out there for you. There's actually options out there, but
there's a lot. And one more thing I do want to say about Tennessee, because right now that defense, because I don't know why so many people dropped them, but they did. So now that they're out there, they've had a very good run of games. They're playing really, really well. And even more so, they have a great schedule coming up here. So they have Houston, and then they have New England, which, it's neither here nor there. Like, it should be a low scoring event, you would think. Every time I say that, they blow up, but that's a fine one. So Houston, then New England, then they have a bye, and then they get Jacksonville and Pittsburgh in weeks 14 and 15, which I love both of those matchups. And even if you have to go into 16 and 17, that's San Fran and Miami. Right. If you get them, then you can just supplement with one other defense. This is kind of a golden goose at the moment. I would go out and make sure you get them, because they're owning less than 50% of the league. So
100%. And then if you're looking for next week, if you're fine for this upcoming week, you need something for next week, go look at the Bears playing against the Lions. That'll be a solid
good one.
So get ahead of it, right? Go get ahead of it now and go pick up the Bears for week 12 if you need a defense for them. So there we go. There's actually some good options here streaming defense. This is one of our best weeks we've had yet on that. But all right, that'll do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with the mailbag episode of the show. So make sure you guys get your questions in. Go check out Instagram.com/fantasyfootballprofit. Check out the post there. Ask them there. Send us emails. fantasyfootballprofit@gmail.com. Or if you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/fantasyfootballprofit, comment on this video right here, and we'll get your questions answered on the show. Talk to you guys then.